Hi everybody, welcome to the Wow Salt Company Competency QPA video. So in this lab, we are manufacturing salt for the Wow Salt Company. So salt is the chemical formula. Sodium chloride is like table salt. That is what we're trying to get here. So the first step is to take a little mini beaker and put that on the scale. You need to record the mass of the empty beaker so that you can know how much product you'll have later. So now that we have the mass of the empty beaker, we're actually going to zero out the weight of the beaker. And what we're going to do is add 1 gram of baking soda. So baking soda has the formula NaHCO3. So what we need is just 1 single gram You want to be as precise as possible. You know what? That's good enough. So we're actually going to use 1.01 grams of NaHCO3 to start. So now that I have my baking soda, I'm going to add hydrochloric acid. This hydrochloric acid is 3 molar, which means molarity is moles per liter. So there are 3 moles per liter of hydrochloric acid in this acid. Molarity is a measurement of concentration. So what I'm going to do with the hydrochloric acid is add it quickly at first. I can kind of just pour it in there. So you can see a chemical reaction happening there. And I'm going to add the hydrochloric acid until I see this solution stop fizzling. So you can see that it's still fizzling. Give it a little swirl. So you can tell that there is a gas coming off of the bubbles, and that is one of the byproducts from this lab. So I don't want to add too much hydrochloric acid because that could lead to some error, and we don't want to have any error. So the goal is to get the actual yield to be very, very close to the theoretical yield. I think it's almost ready. Let's see. So if we hear the tss sound, it's still got some reaction to do. I don't hear it, so I think that's good. So notice how there is now a clear solution. So in order for the reaction to fully happen and make the salt, I now need to heat up this solution. I'm going to put the solution on the hot plate at full heat. And we'll wait for that to heat up. While we do that, let's talk about the reaction that's happening. It's going to go pretty quickly over there. So we started with baking soda, which is NaHCO3. There's the chemical formula for the baking soda. We added the hydrochloric acid, which is HCl. So I did tell you in the lab that this is a double replacement reaction. So what you have is A, sodium, B, is the bicarbonate. So sodium bicarbonate is the chemical name for baking soda. C is the hydrogen, and D is the chlorine. So what we want is A with D and C with B. So A is sodium and D is chlorine. So that's where we're going to get our salt, NaCl. And then C with B is hydrogen and HCO3. So the way that we write hydrogen and HCO3 is H2CO3. That compound is called carbonic acid. And carbonic acid is the bubbles that you see in soda. So the lab also tells you that there is a double replacement reaction that happens with one of the byproducts. So sodium chloride is the product that we are looking for. That is our unknown. Our known was the baking soda because we measured 1 gram. So these are the byproducts, and the two byproducts that split into two different things. Can you tell? One is a liquid, and one is a gas. So those are your two byproducts for this reaction. And the reaction is actually already balanced, so everything has a coefficient of 1, 1, 1, and 1. And, or you could use the H2O and CO2. But that is the chemical reaction for our WOW Salt Company salt production. So what we're trying to find out is how much salt can we produce from 1 gram of NaHCO3. And we're going to find out as soon as this starts to heat up. And what you're going to see is it's going to turn into salt. So you can tell that there is some water vapor coming off from this beaker. And it's actually starting to pop out a little bit. Once it gets really hot, we want to remove it from the heat so we don't lose any product. So our product is in this beaker, but we don't want any more water in there because that would lead to error. So we don't want the mass to be any more than just the salt. So see how there's still some water vapor coming off of there? But we also don't want to lose our salt product. So it's kind of a tricky thing to do. One of the things that we do is what's called the vapor test. So we take a watch glass and see if the watch glass steams up. So see how it's still getting a little bit steamy? That means there's still water vapor left in the beaker. So I turned the hot plate off, just letting the water vapor escape a little bit more through evaporation to make sure that we get the best percent accuracy as possible, or percent yield. Try the vapor test one more time. Doesn't look like I'm getting any water vapor on the watch glass, so I think we're good. So now I'm going to let this beaker cool for just a few minutes. And so remember that I had my beaker weight already on the scale and I tarred it out. So what's going to happen is I'll just have the weight of the salt when I put it back on the scale. There's our salt. I wouldn't recommend tasting it, but it is pure sodium chloride, fresh. You can hover your hand over to see if it's still hot. All right, so we're going to put it on the scale and see how much salt we made. 0.87 grams. Just to see if we have an accurate measurement, we can also clear that out and get the weight of the salt plus the beaker, and then subtract the beaker to make sure that that matches. There you have it, everybody. The Wow Salt Company Salt Production Lab. So you can record all of the data into your answer sheet and ask questions if you need to. That's all for today.